Well, hi, and welcome to the KaiNexus Continuous Improvement Podcast. I'm Mark Graven from KaiNexus, and today we're doing a quick preview of our next webinar. It's going to be held on September 14th. It's going to be at noon Eastern. So those of you who attend our webinars regularly might notice, normally these are at 1 o'clock Eastern, but again, this one will be at noon Eastern. If you can't attend live, it'll be recorded and available to you. But that webinar is titled How to Create Psychological Safety at Work Using the 5 C's. And you can register for that right now by going to kainexus.com/webinars, or you can find the exact link in the show notes. And today we are joined with the two presenters for that session. They are, and you're going to learn more about them directly from them in a second, Jessica House. She's the founder at LightHouse Counselling and Wellness. And we're joined also by Karyn Ross, the founder, CEO, and president at the Love and Kindness Foundation. So thanks to both of you for being here, and thanks in advance for doing the webinar. First off, Jessica, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Mark. Thanks for having us here.
Well, of course. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Jessica, your professional background, and the work that you do?
Sure. So yes, I live in Ottawa, Canada, and I'm a mom first and foremost. I am a mom to 2 boys. They are not 9 and 12. I was corrected recently. He had a birthday. And I'm the founder of a mental health and wellness center here in Ottawa, where I help children, parents, families, and organizations on their pursuit to mental health improvement or wellness improvement. I have worked with Karyn for many years. Karyn actually was my coach. So I have a black belt in lean management, and Karyn helped me learn a lot about lean. And together we collaborated on this very, very important topic that we're going to be chatting with the audience today.
Yeah, and we're going to hear a little bit more of an intro to that topic. Well, thanks, Jessica. And again, it's LightHouse Counselling. I almost flubbed that and I almost said consulting, because that's a word I say more often than counseling. Is there a website where people can learn more about what you do at LightHouse Counselling?
There is, absolutely. So it's www.lighthousecw.ca.
Great. And again, we're also joined by Karyn Ross. How are you, Karyn?
I'm totally fabulous. How are you, Mark?
I'm great. It's good to see you again. I'm just meeting Jessica for the first time today, but Karyn and I go way back, and I'm really happy we could collaborate on something again here. And thank you for doing another webinar with us. For people who don't know you, Karyn, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Karyn Ross, and I'm near Chicago. So we have like a huge amount of North America here. And I'm the owner of Karyn Ross Consulting, and through Karyn Ross Consulting do lean for service excellence. And I'm also the founder and president of the Love and Kindness Project Foundation, as Mark was saying, and we foster projects that create love and kindness in the world. Yes, look, we all have our buttons.
We're wearing the buttons that Karyn made and sent out to us.
Yes. And my latest effort, I have a new book coming out called The Kind Leader, a practical guide to eliminating fear, creating trust, and leading with kindness. And really over the last year or so, and it's all the work I've been doing with clients, just what I've been seeing in the world, I've really realized that so many of the things that are so difficult are failures of 2 things, failures of leadership and failures of kindness. And when we really think about what can we do to help people in organizations, those practicing lean, those, practicing other ways in our families, across society, is really helping people understand kindness. And Jessica and I, who have, as she said, worked together for years, we were really talking about her mental health background and my lean work. And we were thinking, we talk a lot in lean about the continuous improvement kind of pillar of lean. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of tools and principles and practices and standards. But when you look on the other side, on the respect for people side, it's kind of a little amorphous. And then we started to think, well, wouldn't it be nice when you think about this idea, the basis of psychological safety, everybody knows about 5S in lean. Mm-hmm. There's nobody who wouldn't know that. But what do we have that's like this? That's the basis of the people side, the psychological safety. that's really the basis for everything we need. And actually, I'm going to, Jessica, her background really, really made me think about this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When we think about lean, it really is, it's about people. The people are the ones that are doing the work. And so if we don't understand the psychology around people and change and learning and development, then we're really missing the boat. And so in our conversations, we really figured out that psychological safety is the foundation for all improvement work. It's really the starting point. And when we understand from a psychology perspective, a mental health perspective, how the brain works, and that when we're stressed, we actually can't access certain skills, it becomes really critical to then make sure that our people are well taken care of and that they're not in a stress zone where they're unable to truly give their whole authentic self at work.
Yeah, then people can't tap into their creativity, for example, when they're stressed.
Absolutely. The brain essentially, the executive functioning skills, you can't access them in the same way. And we can think about it even for ourselves at the end of the day, if we're tired or we've had a particularly hard day, it's much more difficult to tap into our creative side or to be able to even complete regular expectations that we'd typically be able to manage on a good day. And that's because, your brain's tired and you're not able to access those skills. So.
Yeah. So, and we'll hear a lot more about the topic during the webinar, but Jessica, do you have maybe just a brief elevator pitch definition of psychological safety for those who don't really know that phrase?
Sure. Psychological safety is being able to bring your whole, true, authentic self to work without fear of any repercussion. And so the ability to raise your hand if you need help, the ability to admit if you've made a mistake or you have a question, the ability to come up with new ideas and try them out. These are all practices that happen when we feel safe. When we don't feel safe, we might hold ourselves back.
And that hampers then our people's ability to participate in continuous improvement, then that holds an organization back. And I know there's a lot of research, and I'm a big fan of the work of Amy Edmondson out of Harvard Business School. He studied companies and pointed to whether it was Google or in healthcare, how psychological safety really does seem to be the key variable. Without it, you can't do a whole lot with lean or anything else.
No, it's so true. And I'm sure many of us have seen that iceberg analogy around problems in an organization. The senior leaders typically only know like the tip of the iceberg, maybe 4% of the problems in organizations. It's not until you really dig deep that you realize that there's a problem to be addressed. And so, yeah, very, very important topic if we're wanting to really do continuous improvement and to be innovative and really thrive as organizations.
Now, Karyn, what are some thoughts that that you have about why psychological safety is an important topic for you? We've heard from Jessica already. What would you add to that?
Well, when you think about it, we've already used the word fear a number of times, right? And interestingly, when there's fear, when you see fear, what I'm going to suggest is you look for unkindness. Because where there's kindness, fear doesn't exist, right? And you can just think back about that to your own experience in things that you've been fearful for. Why are you fearful of doing something? Oh, somebody's going to say something unkind to me. Mark and I, we did a whole lot of work on kindness on social media. Well, why don't people want to post on social media? Because they're afraid someone's going to write an unkind comment. So where there's fear, chances are there's unkindness. And as leaders in organizations, it's up to us to create a culture where actually we don't have fear, which ties back to lean as well, because Dr. Deming's 14 principles, right, drive out fear. So kind leadership, lean, psychological safety, they all go together. If people are fearful, they can't create. If people are fearful, they aren't going to bring the parts of themselves that actually you need for your organization to be able to connect with your customers to create service excellence. So it's super, super, super important. And that's how the work that Jessica and I are doing on the 5 C's goes with my new school for kind leaders, right? So people can come and you'll be able to see, you can take a whole class on on the 5 C's of psychological safety, because if you don't have that basis, then we're just going to have too much fear and we're not going to be able to make any kind of progress as an organization and as people.
Yeah, that's well said. And as you mentioned the 5 C's, I hope this isn't unkind of me. Maybe we'll leave that as a teaser. If people want to learn what the 5 C's are, come attend the webinar on September 14th, How to Create Psychological Safety at Work Using the 5 C's. That was not a typo or me misspeaking. It is the 5 C's, not 5S. And you can learn more, a little bit of the background for the session here, again, by going to kinexus.com/webinars, and you can register for it there. Karyn, you mentioned work that you do around kindness. Tell us about something that you're doing actually this week that includes the 14th around kind leadership.
Well, thank you. And I'm super excited. September 13th to 17th is Kind Leadership Week. And why a whole week on kind leadership? Because it's actually too important to leave to only one day. And I really want to thank you, Mark, and KindNexus for, first of all, for always supporting the work that we're doing around kindness. And when I said we're having a Kind Leadership Week, you're always the first person to raise your hand and say, how can we help? How can we help support you? And that's unbelievably kind. So if you would like to learn more about Kind Leadership Week, then you can go to www.kindleadership.org or follow us on LinkedIn at the New School for Kind Leaders.
Well, great. And the new book is scheduled to be released when?
September 10th. It
will be out already. So we'll remind people of that during the webinar. So again, September 14th, please come and register. Or if you're listening to this podcast preview after the 14th, please go check out the recording. You can find it in the KindNexus webinar library at kindnexus.com/webinars. You can find it also in the podcast feed as the audio, and you can find it on our YouTube channel. So Jessica and Karyn, thank you so much for joining us and doing the preview today.
Thank you so much for having us, Mark. We're looking forward to it.
Absolutely.